Deadlights on deck with evil dead chick. What's in store when you open the door? Step inside, my little ones. Bring your flashlight and good luck charms. Oh, and good luck charms. Oh. Might get dark. It might get scary. Maybe even a little insane. Crawl out from under the bed. Don't be afraid. Evil Dead Chick is here to entertain and thrill. Deadites on deck with Evil Dead Chick. Let's hang out till the sun comes up.
All messed up.
Beyond recognition. Yeah, they're all messed up, skinned and alive. Chainsaw ripped apart. I got five. All messed up, dead, yeah, dead. All messed up. Woo! Punctured eyes, blocked out, chopped up like firewood. Yeah, they're all messed up.
Howdy, gang. And forgot to change my font again. I'm always a day late and a dollar short. You guys know that by now of watching me. So, welcome to the much rescheduled. They're all messed up. I am back again, trying to be back in full force this week. A lot of this stuff has been rescheduled for a couple of weeks due to illness and me burning the midnight oil at work and then doing many, many other things. But it's good to be back and doing my streams. And I hope that you guys and gals have enjoyed the return of the normal programming for Deadites on Deck. We had a good cannon fodder last night. Jay Duncan was in here with me talking about Boy Takes Girl and Death Wish 2. So if you didn't get to catch that live, you can watch it on the replay now. There was a Dick's Picks on Tuesday. And now we're going to soon be getting to They're All Messed Up, and we're going to be talking about All the Colors of the Dark, and a very, very odd film that Steve introduced me to many moons ago, Blood Freak. That after you hear about it, you may want to add it to your Thanksgiving repertoire of horror films to watch, because there truly aren't too many Thanksgiving horror films. I mean, that much is apparent. Now you have Thanksgiving, which is Eli Ross offering, which I think is, I know we're not talking about Thanksgiving right now, but I believe that is the best film that Eli Roth has ever put out. All right. So let's get some housekeeping stuff out of the way, and then we're going to get to these films. Um, so a little word of, I guess, warning. I've got a full lineup of programming ready for Friday. However, I heard from Steve that we're supposed to get some nasty storms, possibly. So, uh, barring any really bad storms, I am planning on doing all the programming that I planned. But should something happen, where we lose power or whatever, and I'm not able to do some of the things I had planned, I will reschedule them. And some of the things, or the things I've got planned for tomorrow. I do have a movie roulette planned for tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, for Jeepers Creepers and Host. These were two films that Menelect gave his money for and chose for me to watch and review. So that is still, all this stuff is still planned pending the weather cooperating with me. Of course, if we have a power outage and I don't have access to my computer and whatnot, some of these things, maybe all of these things might not happen. If we're in the middle of a hail and windstorm, naturally I can't get on here and do any streams, regardless whether we have power or not. I imagine I'll be wrangling my dogs if it's that bad. Fortunately, I don't have to work tomorrow because I am working the Saturday shift for 4 hours. But so I have that plan for tomorrow. Me and Candace were planning on making our Friday Foolish return, talking about drive-in memories, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And I was planning on debuting Evil Dead Chicks Slasher Fest and sharing with you guys a double feature of Friday the 13th, the original Friday the 13th, and Sleepaway Camp. I do have a link for, I think I have a link for both of those, so that you can watch along with me. So that's what I've got lined up for Friday. Hopefully, I will be able to do all of those things tomorrow. If not, I will reschedule them and we will have them at a later time. But speaking of movie roulette, some of you may still be wondering, well, what in the heck is movie roulette and how do I get in on this? Okay, so what movie roulette is, if you get a $5 or more super chat during any live stream I do, that includes this one tonight, that includes watch alongs, that includes Evil Dead Chicks Slasher Fest, because those are all live streams. That includes watch alongs as well. I do have a couple of watch alongs that I'll get to here in just a second. But during any live stream I do, if you give a $5 or more super chat, you can pick any movie of your choosing for me to watch and do a review of. It can even be a movie I've said I've hated in the past. Who knows? Maybe I'll like it this time. And if you don't believe me on that, you can watch the debut episode of Evil Dead Chick Eats Crow. In this case, it wasn't a movie that I had seen before and said I hated. I just assumed I wasn't going to like it and had to eat crow after I watched it. So if you haven't checked that out, I do a review of Hard Eyes. You might want to check that out if you have not seen it yet. Also, got a couple, pending the weather cooperating as usual in case the bad weather carries over into the weekend. But I'm planning on having a couple of watch alongs for Happy Birthday to Me, Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and Beetlejuice Sunday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Happy birthday to me. I was able to find a link. I don't think I was able to find a link for Beetlejuice. So hopefully, for those of you that want to attend and want to watch along, you have your own copy of Beetlejuice. And as always, I would love to be able to stream these movies all live for you folks. However, YouTube will not allow me to do that without dinging my channel. And, I don't want to, risk losing my channel because I was trying to stream a copyrighted movie just so everybody be able to watch it. I would love to be able to do that. But unfortunately, we got to stay within the rules set down by YouTube, or we can get in trouble with our channel. So I hope that you guys and gals understand that, and that everybody, for movies that I can't get a link for you to watch in the comfort of your own home, that you have a copy of. Or you can just stop by. You don't have to watch the movie. You can just hang out with us. Nothing says that you have to be watching the movie. I know there have been times when people have said, "Hey, I'm not watching the movie, but I just came here to hang out." And I don't have a problem with that at all. Um, so hopefully, weather permitting, we will have all of these things coming up. Plus, hopefully, next week will be, more of the same. A lot of great stuff coming up for next week. And so, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get to these movies. And I realize that I probably should be using not the box for all the colors of the dark to show as a visual, but I should be using this because there's a naughty bit on there, and I hope that I don't get in trouble with the YouTube police for that. Okay, so as usual, in case you forgot, the purpose of They're All Messed Up is to talk about slasher films from 1970 to 1989, which I have come to realize over the years is pretty much the golden age of slashers, especially the early to mid 80s. But I opted to cover 1970 to 1989. And if this deems popular, I may do a second half to They're All Messed Up and cover some films in the 90s. Okay. Um, so we're mainly talking about the kills. We're not really talking so much about the movies per se, although I probably will give a little bit of the plot. Won't give away the killers or anything like that for ones that are Giallos, and they're kind of supposed to be mysteries in that respect. So, anyway, All the Colors of the Dark is a 1971, I guess you would call it a Giallo, directed by Sergio Martino. And I have said in the past, Sergio Martino did things like Torso, and I'm not a big fan of Torso. I'm not a huge fan of All the Colors of the Dark. I'm just not a huge fan of Sergio Martino overall. And I have nothing against the man. It's just his style is not really something that I go back to. However, Steve, he loves Sergio Martino's films. And a lot of other people love Sergio Martino's films. And again, I'm not a prude, but his stuff tends to be a little on the sleazier side. It's, got a little more nudity, a little more sex in it. And, I don't mind those things in a Giallo. I don't mind those things in a slasher film because I know they're part of the formula. But Martino seems to show that a little bit too much for my taste. Which, if you're a guy and you like to look at that and you like to watch beautiful ladies getting naked, I get it. I get it. It's just not something that is for me. And we have Edwidge Fenech in this, and she does get naked, folks. We have Susan Scott, who also gets naked in this. And both ladies are easy on the eyes. I realize that. George Hilton is also in this. And as I said, it's directed by Sergio Martino. Now, a little bit about the plot of this, in case this might be something that you guys and gals might want to watch at some point. This concerns the story basically of Edwidge Fenech's character in this. As a woman who has visions, satanic visions, she has nightmares. She sees things that she's not sure are real or not. She sees people dead and then they're alive. And, it's basically almost driving her crazy, right? So that's the basic plot of All the Colors of the Dark. So let's go ahead and get to the kills in this one. Now, keep in mind, some of these kills are part of dream sequences. So may be real, may not be real. It also has a very bizarre intro to this movie. We have a pregnant woman in stirrups who seems to be rubbing blood over her impregnated stomach. We have a woman with some rotten teeth that looks like Lady Elaine from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood from the Land of Make Believe, turned into a real person instead of a puppet. Is just very, very bizarre things. But back to the kills. So a woman is stabbed in the stomach in a dream. A man's throat is slit. We have several slit throats. We have a woman whose throat slit, another man who has his throat slit, a man pitchforked in the back, which, is a little bit different. A woman is shot, a man stabbed in a dream sequence, and then a man is pushed off the roof. So we have a total of 8 kills in this movie of varying intensity, right? The slit throats are, kind of, sort of. I do think that Torso, which is one of Martino's other films, has better kills in it than All the Colors of the Dark. Now, if Steve was sitting here beside me, he may have a whole different take on it. I know he loves Torso. And I think he likes All the Colors of the Dark pretty well, probably mainly because Edwidge Fenech and Susan Scott are both in this film. And, like I said, they're easy on the eyes. They, take off their clothes. They're having sex with men and all that good stuff. So if I was to give a rating, and I'll go ahead and give a rating for All the Colors of the Dark, I'll go ahead and give this one, which may surprise some people, I'll give it a 3 deadites out of 5. I mean, it was okay, but it definitely not one that I see myself just, I got to run right back out there and watch it again. However, there may be some of you out there, you guys and gals, that may like this better than I did. And that's perfectly fine. And I would love to hear from people that either didn't like it or did like it, or liked it less than I did, liked it more than I did. Let me know. Let me know what you think of All the Colors of the Dark. If you have not seen it and you end up watching it after this stream. So the second film is, like I said, one that Steve introduced to me many, many moons ago. And that is Blood Freak. And you can see that this is a DVD that came out by Something Weird Video. This is the special edition. And the tagline is, only the blood of drug addicts can satisfy its thirst. You may be thinking, well, what is it? Well, it happens to be the turkey-headed individual right there. Okay. So Blood Freak came out in 1972, directed by Brad Grinter. You only have 5 kills in this, and I'm going to get to those in a second. So, what is Blood Freak about? If you could make any sense of this movie, you're probably a better person than I am. So, you have this guy, you see this guy on a motorcycle, and this kind of attractive chick is driving a car, and I think he helps her with her car. And so she takes him back to this place where her sister is having a party. And I mean, basically, both girls fall for him. Several of the girls in this film fall for him. But it seems like everybody in this film and their mother is a drug addict. When we see this party, there's like people that look like somebody's mom and dad sitting there doing dope with the younger people. I'm like, okay, well, this is weird. But, you got to keep in mind that it is 1972. We had just, you know, kind of moved out of the Woodstock era a little bit. And so drugs were still prevalent, right? Pot was really prevalent. LSD was prevalent, and so there's a lot of, pot smoking in this. There's some acid dropping. I mean, and what they're doing at the beginning of the movie, where I said a couple of these people look like somebody's parents or something, they're snorting something up their nose. I don't know what it is. I would suspect it's probably not cocaine, but I'm not really sure what it is. If somebody can let me know, I'd be glad to know what exactly they were snorting at the beginning of this film. So Herschel, the main guy that you see on the motorcycle at the beginning, goes to this party. At first, he says, I don't want to take any drugs. Basically, I've had a problem in the past. He's just come back from the war, and I think he got addicted to pain medication. And so he really doesn't want to get into any heavier stuff. So um, he goes to work on a turkey farm, basically. And I don't know why these men think this will be a good idea, but they decide to do experiments on Herschel, unbeknownst to him. And they're like giving him drugs. Knowing he's an addict already, they think this is going to help him get dried out. I don't know how. Okay. But, this is a weird movie anyway. So Herschel ends up, having hallucinations, we find out later. But at first, you're like, is this stuff they're doing to him causing him to grow a turkey head and kill people? Because that's what it appears like it is. And then at the end, we find out that no, they were just kind of experimenting on him and trying to help him at the same time. Lord knows how. And he thought he was killing people, but this was all one big hallucination, apparently. So we had 5 deaths or 5 kills in this, mainly people getting their throats slit. There was one a little more spectacular death towards the end of the film, but I'll get to that one. So we have 2 women that had their throats slit, a man strangled, a man stabbed, and then a man gets his leg cut off by a saw. But it kind of negates things for me a little bit when you say, oh, but it was all, drug fueled. And this didn't really happen within the confines of the film, right? I'm like, well, really? It would have been cooler if he really did become this turkey headed monster who killed people, right? Or turkey headed maniac that went around killing people. It's an okay movie. I watch it, with Steve. This is a movie that's more fun to watch with a group of people so you can all laugh at the craziness of it. This is one to watch in people's basement, right? Get together and, or have a watch along for it. it's just that absurd, right? Rather than to watch it by yourself. So if you're planning on watching Blood Freak, I would suggest you get a bunch of buddies together and say, hey, dude, y'all want to watch Blood Freak? I think you'll have a good time that way. And you don't have to imbibe in anything. In fact, it might be better if you don't. If if you're imbibing in certain substances and you watch this guy grow a turkey head and start killing people, it might be nightmare fuel. Um, whereas if you're not imbibing in certain chemicals and you're sober as can be, then you may find this just to be one of the craziest films you've ever seen in your life. And it was one of those things when Steve came to me and he said, hey, you've got to see this movie Blood Freak. It is crazy. And he wasn't kidding. So I will also give this one 3 deadites out of 5 just for the sheer audacity and the craziness of this. Again, Blood Freak is not a movie I watch all the time. It's not oh, I want to pull out a really cool slasher. Let's pull out Blood Freak. But because it has to do with turkeys and stuff, it might be a good choice for a Thanksgiving horror film watch along for you. You might want to pull this out and Home Sweet Home and Eli Roth Thanksgiving and Blood Rage. Not the Yoo-Hoo Killer Blood Rage, but Nightmare at Shadow Wit. Well, can't talk. Nightmare at Shadow Woods Blood Rage. Put all those together and, have a marvelous afternoon after you've ate all that turkey and just sit down and just veg out and watch those films, preferably with your significant other or maybe a group of friends. I'm sure it'd be a fun time for everybody. Okay, so I think that is all from me for tonight. Hopefully, I'll be able to do all this great programming I want to do tomorrow with the debut of Evil Dead Chick Slasher Fest, another movie roulette talking about Jeepers Creepers and Host. Me and Candace getting on here and talking about drive-in memories for Friday Foolish at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So if I get to do all this, we'll be having something at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So hopefully you can look forward to all of that tomorrow. And as always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Thursday, folks. It's Friday tomorrow. Let's get ready for the weekend. I'm ready for the weekend, even though I got to work 4 hours on Saturday from 8 to 12. I'm still ready for the weekend. I'm always ready for the weekend, folks. And so I'm out of here for now, but I'll see everybody next time.